Oh, hello. It is pretty early in the morning. I am going out to Long Island to spend the day with my family, visiting one group, then seeing the other, and then taking the train home just in time to get back to sleep because I did not get much of it last night. But VEDO stops for no man, and here we are. So I want to tell you about my very favorite podcasts. Now, I subscribe to a lot of them. I make a lot of them. And these are the shows that whenever a new episode pops up in my feed, I drop everything to listen. Now, while working in finance and desperately trying to find things on the internet to read to keep my mind occupied in my downtime, I came across advice columns. Dear Prudence, Ask Polly, all kinds of really wonderful Dear Sugar columns that were coming out in the earlier part of this decade were just the freaking best. And Slate Magazine has an ongoing column called Dear Prudence, where the advice columnist changes over time, and currently that is Daniel Mallory Ortberg, who was formerly the co-founder of the website The Toast, which was like the best place on the internet. Danny is really fantastic. His advice comes from a very queer and trans-centered point of view, which I didn't realize how much was lacking in the advice columns I was reading until I read his work. And there was a podcast of Dear Prudence. It comes out every week. It actually got me to pay for a Slate Plus membership, which I cannot believe I do, but I want it because there is extended episodes of the podcast released every week for those members. Okay, and part of me does like hearing about other people's wild problems, but moreover, I love how Danny approaches kind of self-advocacy. Like one thing that he repeats is, if someone says something insulting or shocking to you, you can just say, "What a strange thing to say." And I have used that in life because how else do you know how to say or react in that situation? In a similar vein, the show Friendshipping is about advice, but moreover about friendship and boundaries and being an inclusive ally and progressive and feminist. My friend Leslie Datsis suggested the show to me, and it's become one of my very, very favorites. The two co-hosts work at Cards Against Humanity. They are extremely funny, and their advice comes from a really great and empathetic, but also, healthy boundary setting place. A recent addition is The Good Place, the podcast. The TV show The Good Place is obviously the best thing that ever happened to television since elementary. And NBC is producing a podcast where Mark Evan Jackson, who plays Sean on the show, who you may recognize as Captain Hult's husband from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, hosts the show, does a really fantastic job. It's a well-done podcast, which is a relief because it would suck if it was bad. And they talk to writers and directors and set dressers and assistant camera people. It's really, really fabulous as a look behind the scenes of making a TV show. And talking to the cast is also really fun because I think all those actors are just really lovely people. So I always listen to it the day after an episode comes out. So usually episode comes out Thursdays and then podcast comes out on Fridays. They did the first 2 seasons and they're now doing season 3 as it airs, which is so cool. And now for the true crime section of this video. Okay, I love white collar crimes. I love grits. I love them very, very much. But Uncover Escaping NXIVM is a podcast about the NXIVM multi-level marketing scheme, cult, no one's quite sure. It is hard to listen to in some places because the abuses that the protagonist or the main interview subject, I guess, describes are horrific, but it is also a really fascinating kind of view into how a self-help program verges on the line of cultiness, and I love cults. On a somewhat lighter note, The Dream is a podcast about multi-level marketing schemes. And the main reporter is from a town in Michigan where all her friends and family are into MLMs. And it's a pyramid scheme, or people will sell vitamins or handbags or whatever, or makeup on Facebook to you, and they only make money when you buy, but then they have to kind of buy from people above them in order to get supplies, so people above them make money. It's somewhat fucked up. It's a really great podcast, only 5 or 6 episodes out, but it's going to be continuing for a little while, and it is really lovely as a women-focused economics podcast because things like Tupperware parties or direct sales, which is kind of the broader umbrella term of people going to someone's house and selling them a thing, comes from women being unable to participate in the economy to the full degree that men do. So it's fascinating the ways in which people view this as an empowering thing, and maybe it is empowering, even as it is exploitative. So it's really nuanced, it's really great, sounds beautiful, and that is The Dream. And I think I've mentioned these before, but Someone Knows Something and Up and Vanished are 2 really wonderful, ethical, serious-minded, really well-reported crime podcast. Someone Knows Something has covered several different stories, and then Up and Vanish is the story of one person who's gone missing. And both of them are serious. They are sad, you know, they're unsolved, but the kind of attitude with which the reporters approach the story, they're not just talking about the like grisly details of a crime, they're talking about the life of the subject, of the person in question. They're talking about those that they left behind and the ways that disruption, like, you know, breaks a rift through whole communities. So it's, especially for a person like me who enjoys crime novels and TV shows, I think it's a much needed kind of pairing to the more like cheap thrill style, you know, novels or shows, because all this has really real consequences. And then two businessy podcasts. Skimmed from the Couch is by the co-founders of The Skim, who are like business people, work in tech, like got VC funding, have MBAs, and they talk to women who are CEOs or otherwise kind of high executives at other companies. And it is really wonderful. It's very real. It's not like overly businessy. It's basically the only business related podcast I listen to, because everything else is like intolerable and super masculine and bro-y and like entrepreneurial in a like gross way. But this is great. They talk about like the emotion and the realities and the excitement of running a company. And especially as I do more of that myself, it is really nice to have those examples in my ears. And Know You Go is hosted by three women who are friends and who work in various fields. They're in their, I think, like mid-30s. So for me anyway, it's nice to have this kind of cohort of women who work in tech, in publishing, in media. Some of them are self-employed, some of them work at companies, and they are just like dealing with a different set of challenges than I am. And in so much of the like blogs and media and stuff that I read and consume, people are my age, or they're in their late 20s, or they're coming into their careers for the first time. But these women are different. They have gone through different phases of their careers. They have families, some of them, or have dealt with that question. And the folks that they talk to range in age from their 20s to their 60s. So it is really nice, again, like complement to the more millennial focused, you know, blog. Like The Creative Independent is a blog run by Kickstarter where it interviews artists and does all kinds of really valuable guides on how to run a creative business. But the people they talk to often feel like my peers, and Know You Go feel like my older sisters. So they talk about running a career in different fields, you know, in specialized fields, like as a UI designer or as a web designer or as a writer. They really kind of run the gamut. So I really like listening to those when I am going on like a long train ride or going on errands in my neighborhood. It feels like I am in the company of, you know, women that I really want to be like. And that's always a really good feeling. All right, I am going to edit this real quick and then head off to brunch with my brothers. It's gonna be very fun. I wish you all a very lovely Saturday. If you have prompts for my One Take Sunday tomorrow, I am happy to hear them. Otherwise, I will see you then for more VEDO.